Opening day, pitchers duel, 2-2 in the eighth. We go in extra innings for 2 years in a row on opening day. These are the thoughts that were in my head. And another one, we're watching a great game until we weren't. Dang it. All right. Rangers lose the opener. 5-2 the final. Post-game show starts now. I don't think I heard of anybody quibbling with the re-signing of Nathan Eovaldi. And if you had any issues with the 3-year, $75 million contract that the Rangers gave him, I believe your concerns were assuaged today. How about that performance by Nathan Eovaldi, who gave the Rangers more than just a chance to win this game? They couldn't come through in the end as the bullpen did drop the ball at the end, as it turned out, and that's one of the reasons we were all so concerned about the bullpen all off season long. Hi there. Welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. Welcome to the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan here. Jeff Wilson is at Globe Life Field. He will join us in just a couple of minutes. We'll get his thoughts, and more importantly, why he's not here right now is that he is getting the pulse of what's happening in the clubhouse. He's hearing from Eovaldi. He's hearing from Bruce Bochy, and probably trying to go over there and get a word from Luke Jackson as well. Things did not go well for Luke in his debut as, quote-unquote, the closer. Chris Martin did a nice job as the eighth inning man. Robert Garcia got his job done in the seventh inning, and all three of those men followed the brilliant performance. The brilliant performance by Nathan Eovaldi. Nathan Eovaldi had an inning in the second inning where he struck out the side. He had the sixth inning where he struck out the side. 14 pitches in the second inning, just 11 pitches in the fourth inning, and he strikes out the side to conclude this thing in the sixth inning. Nathan Eovaldi, with 6 innings, he allowed 3 hits, 2 of them to Wilyer Abreu, and then the 2 runs were basically a result of Wilyer Abreu too. As a result, the Rangers at that point were tied, and then the 3-run bomb, of course, in the ninth inning was what undid them. So that's the way, as Ron Washington used to say, that's the way baseball go. Couple of things to talk about with those of you already in the chat, and we appreciate you. Don't panic, right? That's just one. It's, as we said, if they win by 1 or lose by 10, it's just one game. Sure. Are there concerns about the bullpen? Yes, there have been since the beginning of the offseason. And so many of you and of us were really hoping, really planning that they would eventually probably sign a proven closer, an established closer. They didn't. Luke Jackson, I think, is a really good choice for that, despite what happened today. He was basically a model of and a mentor, was mentored by the guy who did so well for the Rangers last year, Kirby Yates. That said, if it continues to go like this, his leash will be short. And that's the way it's going to be when you have, basically between them a bunch of guys who have, less than 30 opportunities, or rather, shouldn't say opportunities, but less than 30 saves. And that's where the Rangers, bullpen stands right now. These are not guys who have been in that closer role before. So much to like about this game, though, and we'll get Jeff's thoughts, and we'll get Luke Jackson's thoughts, no doubt, and we'll hear from Bochy, and we'll hear from Nathan Eovaldi a little bit later on in the program. But you had to just love the way this one started, where the game somehow finds the guy. As they say, the ball finds you. and the ball found Jake Berger. The very first play of the game, it's just a smash to Jake Berger, who's admittedly somewhat inexperienced at first base. The knock on bringing Jake Berger in, to take over at first base was that he was a somewhat inexperienced first baseman, and frankly, not a great first baseman, and especially not as it relates to our boy Nathaniel. So anyway, he came in and he did just great. So that really worked out well. He got a couple of opportunities to field the ball and then feed it to the pitcher, especially in that very first inning, that first batter of the game. So those are some of the things that you just love to see when it works out well. Then, of course, what you don't like to see is when the plan doesn't work out well. And it didn't as far as the bullpen goes today. We do want to hear from you. We already see lots of comments about the bullpen in the chat. Let us know, though, what you thought about the game overall, what you thought about this new Rangers lineup that really contributed mightily to this game. Because, again, Garrett Crochet is a stud. And the Rangers, they did some damage. They actually out-hit the Red Sox 7-6. And we said that on the pregame edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast, that 7 hits was probably going to be a lot. Hits were going to be hard to come by, and they were in this game for both teams. Wilyer Abreu has played the Rangers 7 times over the course of the last 2 years. Wilyer Abreu has played the Rangers 7 times. He has 6 home runs against the Rangers in those 7 games. He's already got 2 multiple home run games. Wilyer Abreu has become the new Rangers killer. I go back all the way back to the days, when that was Vladdy Guerrero Sr., not Vlad Jr., Vlad Sr., when he played for the Angels for all those years. He was an absolute Rangers killer. I think he might have had a hit in his first 40 at-bats against the Rangers. Then you remember Oakland Athletics player who ultimately came to the Rangers but didn't have that same success here, Chris Davis. The other Chris Davis, he was a Rangers killer. He hit bombs off of the Rangers in the 2000 teens, I suppose it was. And then you've got Wilyer Abreu. He just did the damage today. He had the home run, a solo shot in the 5th inning. That one came off of none other, obviously, than Nathan Eovaldi. And then in the 9th inning, he adds that second home run. That's the one that came off of Luke Jackson. And unfortunately, there had been a walk that scores. And anyway, the next thing you know, there was an infield single. And the next thing you know, it's a 5-2 game. So not the way the Rangers wanted to start this season. No doubt about that. I like rarities. Sign David Robertson immediately. It's a great thought because David Robertson is still out there. Now, the thing that we know the Rangers are up against, the thing we know they're up against right now is that CBT, that luxury tax threshold. And so the competitive balance tax in many ways is guiding how this thing goes right now. And the Rangers firmly believe, Chris Young firmly believes in the guys that they have, that they will have the ability to get this job done in a sort of a bullpen by committee, possibly even a closer by committee. Ironically, the team they're facing today, they're really quite similar, the Red Sox and the Rangers. Each has a lineup that goes 1 through 9. I mean, 1 through 9 in that batting order. You've got power, you've got speed, you've got ability. Obviously, that goes right to the Wilyer Abreu. He was batting in the 7-hole today. Your 7-hole hitter hit 2 bombs and 4 RBIs on you, so that's a really good performance by a guy who's hitting 7th in the batting order. Rangers have the same kind of thing. The bottom of their order, including a couple of new guys who we'll talk about in a second, it performed extremely well today. But then the parallels continue for the Rangers and the Red Sox. So 1 through 9, they've got great offense. They've got good starting pitching with great starting pitching at the top, and they got a bullpen full of veterans who they've just kind of cobbled together. Now, Slayton got it done for them today. I think it was just yesterday or the day before that Joey Cora said Aroldis Chapman, you remember him, you saw him pitch today, Aroldis was going to be their closer. And anyway, today he pitched the 8th inning, got his job done, and then Slayton came in and he closed the door on the Rangers in the 9th inning. So not the way they wanted to see this season start, no doubt about that. But the reality is that this bullpen is a work in progress. I see some comments on there, give Mark Church the opportunity to close. Look, that's not out of the question before this season is over. And I talked to Mark before the game today. He is just, obviously, he's a kid in a candy store to have the opportunity to make this opening day roster. I also spoke to him about the fact that, he got some opportunities last year. And he said, since I was on the big league club at the end of last year, I spent the entire offseason feeling confident that I would be on the club this year. He planned to make it the whole time. All that said, he told me that he was one of the last ones they informed. And all day Tuesday, day before yesterday, he's getting text from his mom, text from his friends, his family, his brother. What's the deal? What do you hear? What do you hear? I'll let you know. I haven't heard anything. And finally, they called him into the office. Now, of course, there's one of two messages when you get called into the office. But he said, he admits he walked in, and it's a pretty long walk down the hall from the clubhouse to Bochy's office. And he walked in there beaming, he said, smiling from ear to ear, feeling pretty confident that he was going to make the club. So that confidence, to your point, could definitely pay dividends at some point in this season. Do you want to make Mark Church the closer today? You do not. He's not ready for that. You have to just try him in lesser roles at first and then continue to move him up the leverage ladder, if you will, right? He goes up the leverage ladder to where all of a sudden, and again, every out counts. All innings are 3 outs, all that stuff. But it does feel different. It looks different in the ninth. It's not like he's never pitched the 9th inning before. He did. He closed very well in the Arizona Fall League last year. But he's never done it at the major league level. So that's certainly something that we'll just have to keep an eye on. But Mark Church certainly has the ability, and that's one of the reasons he made this club out of spring training, is that he has that ability. The Rangers will not let this closer situation linger. They're going to continue to move pieces around to find who works best in there. Originally, throughout the course of the offseason and maybe much of spring training, it looked like it was going to be Chris Martin. Luke Jackson has emerged as the closer for now. And it didn't work today, but that doesn't mean it won't work in the future. Jeff is here now joining us. And Jeff, I know you've had a chance to hear from Bochy and hear from Eovaldi. And as you can imagine, the chat is full of people saying, well, we got to get rid of this closer. I'm trying to tell him. We said it in the pregame edition. It's just one game.
It's just one game. That's important to remember. This is probably going to happen, I don't know, 5 or 6 more times this year if everything goes, according, kind of like the best case scenario. Last year it happened early on with Leclerc. Yates kind of steadied the ship. And maybe that's what happens here. Maybe Luke Jackson doesn't succeed after 2 or 3 tries, but the Rangers like the way it it works. They like this way, the way they lined it up, and it didn't work today for sure. A couple things, that play that didn't get made by Josh Young, that was scored an
Yeah.
error. That's a big play. If getting out there, you really, you kind of have a chance to maybe walk Abreu there. That it changed the inning. So at that point, it's like, well, geez, we kind of got to pitch to him, and Luke made a mistake. So it was that was a that was a pretty big play that didn't get made. It was scored a hit. Should have been an error. Josh Young probably, if I'd hung around, would have told us that, but he didn't, and that really changed the inning. But there, you can't walk a guy. That's a big deal, especially with as good as Luke has been against right-handers last year in the second half. So, yeah, it's the opening day and everybody's watching, and if the Rangers had ended up losing the game under maybe some normal circumstances, it would have been, oh, the offense can't score. This offense is terrible. Why'd you trade Nate Lowe? Jake Berger stinks, or something like that. But this is what it is, and it's disappointing. You always want to win. There are a lot of eyeballs on you, but they didn't. So you'll have to watch 161 more times to see how it goes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And they played 8 innings of just absolutely great baseball. It was really fun to watch, Jeff. We'll talk more about some of the things I mentioned and get your thoughts on them coming up next. And we'll also talk to Jeff about what he heard from Boch, what he heard from Evo. That's coming up. Jeff, do you have a sleeper in you?
Oh, I can do a sleeper.
Oh, absolutely. That's what's coming next on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
But as busy as it was today before the game, I did not get in any sleeper picks. Now there's still a night game or two I could probably
Yeah.
get something going, but sleeper is a great app. I absolutely love it. It's daily picks. I mean, they've been around doing fantasy, but now they're doing daily picks, and you can do something as simple as will Mookie Betts have more than half a hit? If you think he's going to get a hit, all right, boom, Mookie Betts. You can do it for as little as $1. You have to have a couple picks per card, but um, man, is it fun! And sleeper, they just give you money. If you use the code DLLS Rangers, you can get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Giving away money, and now this baseball season, I expect to get rich. So download the sleeper app today.
Yeah, we're hoping it doesn't get too rich because then Jeff will leave us and it won't be as much fun doing the show without him. But yeah, Sleeper is a great app. There were 37,587 people at the game today, and we need to figure out if we can learn this from the Game Time app. I just wonder how many of those 37,587 game timed that bitch, because I'm sure somebody did. We've been telling them to do it. They went
Absolutely.
to Game Time and they found the ticket they wanted. We saw them yesterday. They were as cheap as $88, which I think for opening day is an awesome price. And all of them got to see a great game. There's so many great things that you can see on Game Time. And man, Nicole and I, she's been hitting me up a lot lately because she knows there's a lot happening right now in the Metroplex. So go to Game Time, order some tickets. You're instantly friends with Nicole, and she'll let you know what the heck else is happening around this area. So gametime.com, $20 off your first purchase with the code DLLS. All right, well, let's start with first things first, Jeff. I'll get back to some of the thoughts I had about the game after we hear what Bruce Bochy thought about the game. What did you hear from Boch?
He disappointed, and rightfully so, but he was pretty adamant that the Rangers are going to score more runs. Garrett Crochet is just a tough cookie, and when you get in a situation like that, the Red Sox, the opponent's going to go with their best bullpen arms, which is going to make it tough too. They had a chance that got away there in I think it was the sixth or the seventh when Pilar hit with runners at first and second. That was an interesting choice there. Could he have gone with Tavares there? Could he have gone ahead and pulled the trigger with Peterson there, though you wouldn't have Peterson for the rest of the game. So wondering if maybe he could have gone with a more favorable matchup with Tavares there. He didn't. Pilar had gone 2 for 2 in his first two at bats. So uh, that's kind of really the only thing you can nitpick. I mean, the Rangers have their bullpen set up the way they do, and Boch said, "Look, you give me 6 innings from the starter, and you give us the options that we want. Our A plan for the bullpen, which today was Garcia, Martin, and Jackson." And Bruce Bochy said, "I'm going to take that every time." So they liked the way the game fell. It just didn't happen. And so I think that it's just one of those things. That's baseball. And obviously they liked Eovaldi. Eovaldi was great. 4 pitches. The curveball was really good. The pitch he made to Abreu hit for the home run was a middle fastball that that not a lot of people are going to miss. They really aren't. And so that was his only bad pitch. We talked to him as well, and he hated the fact that each time the Rangers scored, he
Yeah,
immediately gave up a run.
yeah.
He's a big believer in the shutdown inning. Go out, get the 3 outs, keep the momentum in your dugout, let guys go back out there and hit. Don't let the other pitcher rest. And I knew it as it was happening that he was going to be upset about that, but he was really good. I thought he pitched real well. Obviously, didn't walk anybody, struck out 9. Hard to beat that, But that pitch to Abreu was not a pretty one.
No, and you're right. I mean, the Rangers score a run in the bottom of the second inning, and right back come the Red Sox with a run in the top of the third. Rangers score in the bottom of the fourth, make it 2-1, and the Red Sox come back with the first Abreu home run in the top of the fifth inning. So, yeah, you do hate to see that happen. That was the Abreu that inning was the second hitter of that inning, and so were there any chat, Jeff, about like that? Because obviously I was talking about the Red Sox, their bullpen also kind of in flux, right? And we had heard from Joey Cora just a day or two ago that Aroldis Chapman was going to be their closer, and then today there's Slayton out there closing. Is there any talk that for the Rangers in the short term, it could be more matchup based, and that some days it will be Martin, some days it will be Jackson, it might be others as well?
Yeah, the Boch said that they'll be fluid down there, meaning it could be based on matchups or whatever, but they just like the way that this sets up. Jackson was fantastic in spring training,
Yeah.
and yes, it's spring training, and he was stand up. He was at his locker afterwards, and we talked to him, and he said, yeah, it's just one of those days he hated. He hated blowing it for Eovaldi. Eovaldi should have been the storyline, not Luke Jackson. But as it is, that's not what happened. But I think that the Rangers set it up this way for a reason. They like their chances better here. And look, Chris Martin got some big outs, right? I mean, he got them out of a jam in the seventh. And then he came in and he faced a tough stretch of Red Sox hitters and got the Rangers through the eighth unscathed. So, maybe he is as their most veteran guy. Maybe he's also their the guy they want to send out there and shut things down in the seventh. There are big outs to be had in the seventh. A lot of times, the biggest outs of the game are in that inning. So, maybe that's how they use Martin and get it to Jackson and let Luke do his thing better than he did it today.
Yeah, and when you mentioned that seventh inning, Robert Garcia came in and he got two ground ball. He got a ground ball out and a fly ball out, and he got two quick outs, is what he got, and then walked two. So now you got
Right.
runners at first and second, and that's when Chris Martin was called upon. And fortunately, in some ways, he's facing the number 9 hitter, but he comes in and gets the strikeout. I mean, that was huge at that point in the game.
Very much so. The game was that was a big situation, and it's kind of weird. I was thinking, gosh, this guy who caught Chris Martin last year. I wonder if he has any inside secrets, or if Chris is going to tip a pitch that maybe only the catcher can see. But no, he did great and got the Rangers out and came back. That's always a big deal. You saw Robertson do it a lot last year, where he would get in out in the seventh, come back and pitch the eighth, and set things up for Yates. So if the Rangers have that, hey, that's a pretty valuable piece to have. But yeah, they need to just kind of let this ninth inning thing play out. You hope this is just one and five over the course of 162 or whatever for Jackson. But if it's not, they've shown the last 2 seasons they will not let it linger. They will make a change. And it was Will Smith in 23 and Yates last year. Right about mid-April, it just wasn't going right for Jose Leclerc, so they made the change. You hope that doesn't happen here. You want to win these games. You don't want to see anybody fail. But I'm sure they have contingency plans in place in case something continues to befuddle our man Luke.
Yeah, and not and it doesn't matter that much to correct myself though. That strikeout in the eighth inning by Chris Martin was of the eighth place hitter Connor Wong, and then he got the guy to lead off the ninth or
Oh yes,
the lead
Sandana.
to
Yeah,
lead off the eighth. He got him, and
yeah.
then to your point, Jeff, he had to face one, two, and three. And Duran got his first hit of the game, but then he got the next two to get out in order. So really good inning by Chris Martin there, inning and a third, as it were, by Chris Martin there. Slayton was Rangers property and lost in the Rule
He
5
was
draft. Do you
correct.
remember what their thought on him was at the time?
Yeah, it came down to Justin Slayton or Mark Church, and they chose Mark Church, and so it's hey, you can't you now should they the question is should they have protected both? Well, you're coming off of a World Series and your roster, a lot of these guys are coming back. You want to make some moves, you want to have some roster flexibility. So it ended up not working out. Justin Slayton was a starter. He found his niche there in 22 or 23 as a reliever at Frisco, and he was great, but it was a double A, and they had gotten him from New Mexico, as I recall. He's from Tyler or from Longview, one of the two, but they had gotten him out of college, and it just hadn't clicked. And then it did click, and so maybe you're thinking, well, it was a short-term thing. He had a little more mileage on his arm. He's a little bit older. Either way, you're talking about two guys who are on who are on opening day rosters this year. So
Yeah,
definitely not I'm sure they'd love to have him still in the organization. I guess maybe they thought they could sneak him through. It didn't happen. Good job by the Red Sox, to identify him and get him and stick with him last year. These Rule 5 guys, they got to spend the whole season on the roster. So you're really committing to a guy who may not be ready. And then kudos to him for pitching so well. But yeah, the cutter became a really good pitch for him, and the fastball's always been there, but he finally dialed it in, and I'm sure they would love to have him back, but you know what? I'm sure they'd love to have Cole Reagan's back. But guess what? They won a World Series. So
yeah. No, that's right. And
that's baseball.
yeah, these decisions are in many of them. It's not a science, right? It's an art. There's a certain amount of guesswork involved, and they protected who they thought. And like you say, Mark Church is on the opening day roster. I talked a little bit about that in the first segment, Jeff, and there are some thoughts in the chat and early, and we addressed this briefly. Well, why don't we make Mark Church the starter? He's just not. I mean, the closer. I'm sorry. He's just not ready for that yet. I mean, he needs, as I said, he needs to climb the leverage ladder.
Yeah, he's got one big league inning in his career, right? And he's pitched well in leverage situations in the minor leagues. He's never pitched on back-to-back days. In during a season, he did it the last two springs. But I mean, there's things that he's still got to learn. It's great stuff, but what are you gonna do? What's he gonna do the first time he comes in with runners at second and third and one out and 35,000 people in the stands, and he looks up and he looks and he sees three decks and the bright lights? How's he going to react to that? The Rangers don't know yet. The stuff plays for sure. And Mark's a level-headed kid, man. He's cool, but you're going to throw him into a situation here that he's experiencing for the very first time, and you're curious to know how it's going to go. That's why, Chris Young kind of has laid a landing pad for these guys, a soft cushion for them to fall into, because he's a former pitcher who knows what it's like, and he understands that it's not always going to work out for these guys until they get in these situations and it works. Look, I had one guy tell me that Mark Church by the end of the year could be the closer. It's that good. It's that powerful stuff. But it's not going to happen tomorrow, barring something crazy happening. But don't worry, don't rush it. Let it happen naturally. Don't force it. But he does. You're right. You need to climb the leverage ladder. That's a good way of putting it. So maybe you try him out in the sixth with a 4-3 deficit. See how he does. Then
Yep.
maybe the next night or two nights later, it's in the sixth to get two outs with a 4-3 lead. Things like that. that will slowly allow the Rangers to feel more confident in him and him to feel more confident in himself. You can look back at last year. Cole Winn came out blazing, and then once the league saw him and the scouting report got out, it didn't work anymore. So they had to send him back down. So um, let's take our time with Mark Church.
Yeah, no doubt. You want this young man to be able to develop at just the right pace, and then they'll get everything they possibly can out of him. And certainly, pitching on back-to-back days, as you mentioned, Jeff, is pretty critical for a guy who is your would-be closer. So, baby steps here. We'll take the steps as they come. We've got more coming up on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Some more bright spots from this game, things we have to talk about, including the new guys on the team. And we also want to talk a little bit about some of the guys we were chatting with before the game and their excitement for being here and their excitement for opening day. It's all next on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
The Rangers, DLLS, are no longer in the Phoenix area, but still operating in Phoenix is Waymo. Waymo is the autonomous ride-hailing service that operates in Phoenix Metro, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. These cars drive themselves entirely using cameras, LiDAR, and radar. It's the future. And what you do is you download the Waymo app, you punch in where you are. It's not like one of the other apps there where somebody comes and gets you. This car comes and gets you. You get in, don't have to deal with talking with anybody, and it takes you very safely, mind you, very, very safely, to where you're supposed to be. And it happens easily, affordably, and it's hassle-free. So if you are in Phoenix, LA, or San Francisco here in the next, I don't know, maybe forever, this is the future. Download the Waymo app and use it to hail an autonomous ride.
So the next round of the NCAA basketball tournament is underway, and my family, most of them are my dad's Notre Dame guys. They're not in it, but the rest of my family are all Michigan State people,
Oh,
and
I
man,
bet.
they're going crazy. And I've told them what you need to do is represent and go to Saturday Neon and get Michigan State made into a neon sign for you that you can put in the man cave or you can put in your office or in the bar, wherever it might be, that you watch your games. You want to show off your team. That's what Saturday Neon does. They make signs. They're affiliated with 50 colleges and universities, and they make neon signs to let you represent your school. So go to SaturdayNeon.com if you would, and if you use the code DLLS, you will get 10% off the neon sign they make for you that calls out your college. Okay, so a couple other things, Jeff, that I really liked about the game was how the new guys performed. They're in the, again, bottom third of the order, seventh and eighth spot in the batting order. Pilar and Higashioka both came through. Higgy with the double. Pilar had base hits and a couple of base hits and a walk. I mean, really nice to see the way those guys started the game.
Yeah, and you kind of when you go through when you're watching the course of a game and you're thinking about what you're going to end up writing, the new guys for sure were going to be a big part of the story. It was like, hey, uh, the Rangers are here to win. They're playing the players who are going to who they think are going to give them the best chance to win every day, and not necessarily a guy who's been around for a few years. And Pilar played in place of Leody Taveras, and Higashioka started for Jonah Heim. So you know that's kind of what we're going to do. What that was the direction I was headed, and maybe someday that story gets written because it looks like they're going to be around, they're going to play, and they're going to produce when they do play. And Pilar's a veteran, and as we talked about in the pregame show, we talked to him about how just kind of grateful he seemed to be after his last season, and getting released by the worst team in baseball history. That's got to sting. But he picked up with the Angels and ended up kind of getting rejuvenated and not taking anything for granted. He's not taking this opportunity for granted, and it showed today. So good for him. And then Higashioka, Bochy said before the game, it may be an every other day situation where they play. They may one on, one off, one on, one off. He expects Heim and Higashioka to split this 4-game series. So there's you're going to see a lot of Kyle Higashioka, and it looked good. Abreu's first home run went 415 feet. The ball that um, uh, Higashioka hit off the wall, even though it hit the fence at around 408 or so, was projected to go 414 feet. So if that wall hadn't been in the way, it would have gone as far as the home run. There's some power there. That's why the Rangers signed him. He hadn't shown that power until last year. He made a little adjustment in his swing, and it's paid off. So, um, yeah, good news for them. And also, Pilar made a really good play in
Yes.
center field there in the seventh inning after Josh Smith had made his great play at shortstop. That was another angle. Wow. This team that played great defense in 23, but didn't last year. Look at that. The defense won him the game in the seventh inning. Didn't happen. There was also the possible storyline. Hey, look at the bullpen. Who are these guys? Well, they went out and got the job done in the opener. Well, that didn't work out either, but there are a lot of ways to go with that one.
Yeah, and somebody in the chat said, with regard to the bullpen, Robert Garcia has to be better. And he's right. And I'm sure Robert Garcia would say that, right? He got those first two outs, great defensive plays on both, but you just can't walk the next two. And he knows that, and I'm sure that's something that's going to haunt him a bit. As far as the Pilar play goes, though, Jeff, that was the second out of that second inning, and the one before it, the Josh Smith play on the broadcast, Mike Bassick said, "Well, that's it. We've already got our play of the year." I mean, it's going to be tough to
Pretty
beat
good.
that play. That was to range that far to his left and then turn around, and basically it was a no-look throw. He's kind of just throwing in the direction of first base. It was a great play by Josh Smith.
Yeah, I mean, and at the time I was thinking, there's no way he has a chance to get this. I'm sure Tristan Casas was thinking the same thing, and by God he did. And then once he did the throw, he's already, his momentum was kind of taking him that way. He had to reverse a little bit, but at least he was somewhat going in the direction of first base. So that was great, and for him to be able to step in like that with Seager not able to play shortstop today, or Bruce Bochy though did say he could have played shortstop today. Corey has spoken to the media since I came upstairs and said it was the smart play to let me DH today. Haven't he said he hadn't really moved around a lot on it for the last 5 days, so but he said he's fine. So. Josh will probably be on the bench tomorrow, though there's an opportunity somewhere, I guess, for him to play. But yeah, defense wins championships. It's in every sport. And the Rangers, they had the best defense in the American League the year they won the World Series. So there is a correlation, and it almost won them a ball game today.
Yeah, another new guy, Jake Berger, had a really good at bat. I think it was maybe his second at bat. Let's see which one it was. No, it was his first at bat there in the second inning, where he led off the inning and he worked a walk. And that followed the Wyatt Langford walk in the first inning. And you go, well, walks, what? I mean, but they were big at the time, as you're working Garrett Crochet, and you have to be pretty darn you have to have a pretty darn good eye to work a walk out of that guy.
Yeah, it's a battle up there, and Crochet, it seemed like he didn't have any wild misses, from where I was sitting, and a guy like that who's around the plate with pitches that move like that, kind of from a funky angle, and yeah, not a crazy delivery, but it is a little different. I couldn't put my finger on it, but maybe it was the tempo that he was pitching with, and same thing with Slayton, I thought, but it was a little different, and yeah, not a comfortable at bat there by any means for any of the hitters. And so yeah, you get that walk. I think Berger will learn a little bit more about right field, and probably leave a little sooner, on that Josh Young
Yeah.
fly ball that eventually got over his head, and maybe get to third on that play. No big deal. Pilar came up and Berger scored from second. You know what? Berger made a hell of a play on the very first pitch of the game.
Yeah.
When
I mentioned that.
Duran
Yeah.
hit that chopper down there, and
Yeah.
Berger went and got it. Berger's a guy who's played second base some in the major leagues, played some third base, so he's got a little range, And Bruce Bochy mentioned, and not that it's going to come in to play too many times, but a guy at third base has to have a big arm, and if Jake Berger needs to put a little extra jalapeno on those little tosses to the pitcher, he can certainly do it. So that was a great play to start the game, and
Yeah, it's
really kind of for Jake to get his feet wet. That's a pretty good way to do it.
Yeah, it's kind of the old saying, Jeff, the ball finds you, right? So here's a guy
Yeah,
who doesn't have a lot of experience at first base, and he's replacing a guy in Nate Lowe who's won a Gold Glove, and here it comes, first hit right
yeah,
to you, and it's a tough one.
yeah,
And then he handled every chance. He had a 3
yeah.
unassisted, he had another 3-1. So he handled every chance. He had a really good stretch on the throw from in the seventh inning there from Josh Smith. That's
Sure.
his job is tough too in that role.
Yeah, but the Rangers were impressed with how he played defense. And it's not like the first time he's ever done it. He
Right.
played more than half his games last year at first
Yeah.
base. But when you are replacing a guy who won a Gold Glove, it becomes an
Yeah.
immediate concern. But that first pitch of the game, he was ready for it. He attacked it. He could have conceivably let it go through and let Simeon try to get it, but he didn't. He wanted the ball. It's what these little league coaches tell players: want the ball hit to you. Be ready for it, and he was so good for him. And I think Jake Berger, I think first base is going to be just fine for the Rangers.
Yeah, I agree. One other super positive, and we've mentioned it right off the top, and we've mentioned it a couple of times throughout the show, just how well Nathan Eovaldi did overall. 9 strikeouts for him in the game, Jeff. 9 strikeouts is a career high on opening day for him. There's the numbers, and nothing at all to quibble with there. 9 strikeouts, a career high. He had 7 strikeouts against the Yankees on opening day back in 2022. Today, he does 2 better than that, and basically of the 18 putouts that he got, half of them were strikeouts.
Yeah, that tied the club record with 9 opening day strikeouts. It's been done a couple times. Most recently, it was done by Lance Lynn in 2020 in front of 0 fans and a lot of cardboard cutouts. I think that was a 1-0 game over the Rockies. Um, and I'm pretty sure you Darvish might. Well, all right. I was going to say pretty sure he might have. I think you Darvish and Nolan Ryan also did it. I haven't looked at the game notes, but it seems like I've heard that before somewhere. Yeah, and the no walk sticks out. That's
Yeah.
that's another thing. Not Don't hurt yourself, okay? And even though that pitch to Abreu was terrible, it was a solo home run because they hadn't put anybody on base ahead of him. Solo home runs won't get you beat. It's the walk, the out, and then another walk, and then a 3-run homer, and you're done. All right. So didn't hurt himself. He liked the way his curveball played. He said he figured out something yesterday playing catch with it. All right. And then the splitter got dialed in. His last pitch of the game was a real nice splitter for the strikeout, and he walked off the field. Tie game. Did what the Rangers thought he would do. Gave him a chance to win, and he went 6. Um, 89 pitches. So, right there at the where you want to be if you're a starter with the 15 pitches an inning average. So really, really good. He could probably have gone for another inning, but it's early in the season, and the Rangers had their bullpen the way they wanted it. And as we talked about, it just didn't work out.
Yeah, the Prophet and I were sitting there watching the game, and I said to him, man, I promise you Nathan Eovaldi wants to come back out there for the 7th inning after he struck
Yeah.
out the side easily in the 6th. But the smart money prevailed there, too. And like you say, they had it set up how they wanted it. Didn't turn out this time. 5-2 the final. I like that we've got the score bug up there for the whole show to remind you. Lots more to talk about. Somebody in the chat stole my thunder a little bit, but there was a record tied for strikeouts on opening day today. We'll get to that and also more about this game. We'll also preview tomorrow's game next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. But we first must remind you to become a diehard. All the stuff that's happening right now is not only talked about on our show, but it is written about on our website at alldlls.com. And if you want to be a diehard, all you have to do is go there and pay the $79.99. You get a free shirt from the process, and you get a free shirt every year that you renew your diehard membership. So in just 13 years, you'll have as many shirts as Jeff, although he's about to get 2 more. So
That's right. I ordered those bad boys.
yeah, he ordered those during the show yesterday. I got to get mine ordered. There are new baseball shirts, which Jeff's is going to talk about in a second. But you want to just scan that QR code on the screen there and go straight to the sign-up page, because there's going to be lots to talk about and lots written about the Rangers. Oh, by the way, the Cowboys, the Stars, the Mavs. Yeah, we write about them every day too. So become a diehard today. It's really a wise and really a frugal choice.
Oh, 100%. And if you go to store.allcitynetwork.com, that's where you can find your shirt. There are going to be, we're adding 2 shirts. So I think that gets us to 8. I am missing one Ranger shirt I discovered yesterday, the Claw and Fight shirt, or maybe it says Claw and Antler.
That's
I don't
right.
have
I don't
that
have
one
that
yet.
either.
So
Yeah.
I'm missing one. So I'm really letting the team down. But gosh, these are such great shirts. I wear them pretty much every day. And I'm definitely wearing one tomorrow. I already got my wardrobe planned out for tomorrow, John. I'm wearing we're going to be the Shackett brothers tomorrow. I feel good about this. So
Nice.
anyway, store.allcitynetwork.com, sweatshirts, coffee cups, beer steins, and coming soon, hats. Gotta have the hats.
Yeah, gotta have those. Gotta have those new Rangers shirts. And again, you get one every year by becoming a diehard. The story of the day, the headline of the day, the lead on MLB tonight over there on MLB.com or whatever might well be Makenzie Gore, Jeff, for the Nationals, ties Bob Gibson. Bob set the record in 1967. It stood since then. 13 strikeouts on opening day.
Oh, Bob Gibson, that's not bad company.
No, you're in pretty
Wow.
rarefied air there. And Daniel apologized for stealing the thunder. It's cool, Daniel. I'm fine. I'm happy with it, man. I first of all, I love that you're paying attention out there. We are too. And it's a heck of a story. I mean, what a great way for any pitcher to start the year, and for anybody, Makenzie Gore included, to be listed in the same breath with Bob Gibson is just absolutely awesome. So Rangers lose it by a final of 5-2 today. Bullpen let them down. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. The bullpen let them down. The bullpen will be better, and it may be better as soon as tomorrow. Game 2 of this 4-game series is tomorrow, and I did like one of the optimistic chat items earlier in the show. Somebody said still a chance to sweep, or at very least split this series, and not sweep, but win or split.
Win the series,
yeah. And so anyway, that's cool. We'd love to see either one of those things happen. When they try to begin that process tomorrow, Jeff, it'll be Jack Leiter on the mound for the Rangers tomorrow, and talk to him a little bit before the game today. Obviously, he's super excited about making that debut, that season debut out there, and to get the chance to be number 2 in the rotation as a young guy like him. I bet that's really exciting stuff.
After you talked to him during batting practice, he was out there in right field doing whatever these guys do, and he got hit in the head by a fly ball.
Yeah.
So I went up to him afterward, and he kind of laughed. He's like, "Yeah, it squared me up right on top of his head, but he's fine. So he's going to go out there and pitch, and I don't know, maybe it knocks some of the excitement out of him. Maybe he's going to be calmed down and not as many nerves." But I thought it was interesting. This also came up during the post game after Eovaldi finished his start. He went and talked to Leiter. Leiter. The Rangers have 5 right-handers in their rotation, and so the Red Sox are going to see 4 of them, and just giving his advice and telling Jack things that were still fresh on his mind after just finishing up 6 innings. So, hopefully Jack takes that stuff to the bank. But I'd imagine, he might be a little restless tonight, a little nervous, have some nerves tomorrow when he gets to the ballpark. Hopefully he can shake those off with the first pitch and have a good one. The Rangers, are in need of innings. They can't have Jack with one of his shaky starts that he had last year, but he didn't show any signs of that um, this spring. I thought he did have the one start where he walked five, but he was able to make an adjustment, made some pitches. Even the start against the White Sox, where he gave up the two first inning runs, he made a quick adjustment and got out of that. So you're going to see a more mature pitcher, I think, a calmer pitcher, a more confident pitcher. And you hope you see it for 5 innings. Shoot, you hope you see it for 6 or 7. But I think if the Rangers were to get 5 innings from Jack Leiter tomorrow, they'd be just thrilled.
Yeah, and I've got to get Prophet this video. I think I've shown you, Jeff. I'm not sure, but 2 summers ago, I took one off the melon. I was out there in left field where the Bally set used to be, and it was BP, and I think it might have been a Rosarena was still with Tampa Bay, and he hit a home run out there, and they never get to that set. And not only did it get to the set, I was standing, and boy, security video got it. That ball landed right on top of my head. And I could have pitched. I'm just gonna say I could have pitched the next day. In fact,
Attaboy.
that might have been. Maybe I should have tried pitching the next day. Maybe that would have been like a Disney movie. Guy gets hit in the head, and then he's a great pitcher.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you should have tried it. I'm a little disappointed you didn't. In fact,
wish I had. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, obviously, Jack Leiter during spring training, we saw different things from him than we'd seen in the regular season when he was up last year. Foremost among them, regularly hitting triple digits, Jeff, with the fastball. The kick change is a new, I don't know if it's a brand new pitch, but it's certainly been honed, and he's better at that pitch, So he's adding things to the repertoire, and it's things that he'll feel real. And a changeup is at 92 miles an hour-ish, So
yeah.
he's adding things that will make it more difficult to hit Jack Leiter.
Yeah, sure. And he's thrown a changeup before, but what he's done on this one is he's moved, he's changed his grip. And the way he explained it to me is now all three fingers are on the same line. Like the middle finger is not longer on the ball. So maybe he has to kick up his middle finger a little bit. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But that's the change, and that's the change to the change. And it is he throws the hell out of it. He throws it hard, but it's the movement, and if he does crank one up at 100, and he can come back at 92. 8 miles an hour is a pretty big difference, especially if it's moving differently. It's a pitch that he has a chance to really utilize a lot if it's good. There may be some teams that have some left-handed hitters that he'll want to throw it to. I mean, you could see it, I think, tomorrow against the Red Sox. I mean, you look at the top of that order, and it's two pretty big left-handed guys, 1-2, and then you have Costas right there in the fourth spot. So you could definitely see that tomorrow. Um, Trying to throw a sinker to right-handers, slider, curveball. So it's 6 pitches, and but he built some confidence with that pitch, and you know if it worked in spring training, I know, granted, sometimes it's against guys who you're not going to be facing in the major leagues, but it's probably going to work here. And that's the thing that going all the way back to the start of spring training when Colby Lewis and I were watching Jack throw a bullpen, Colby said it works. He just has to trust it. He has to go out there and just let it play. When a batter gets in the box, nothing should change. So that's it. Everybody's going to be watching Jack, and everybody on Monday is going to be watching Kamar, and see how they go. Because look, the Rangers need these guys. If they're good, they're going to pitch in the rotation for 3 months. They may pitch in the rotation for the whole year. I mean, honestly, they have Patrick Corbin, who's going to be getting ready. It turns out in Arizona. Instead of Round Rock, he's being optioned to Round Rock, but apparently he's not even going to report there. He's just going to go to Arizona and throw some camp games and try to find his feel there. I think personally, I'd like to see him throw a AAA game just to face some hitters that have a little more experience than the extended spring kids. But he's going to be an option at some point. When Patrick Murphy gets healthy from this pec muscle, he could become an option. Adrian Hauser is going to be down there. So, if just just like we're talking about earlier, with the closer being changed out, if Leiter or Rocker is no good, they're going to get changed out. So it's a big start. You hope it's the start of a nice long journey for him. I know last year he had his debut and it was rocky, but you hope that with him and Kamar, the college teammates, the number 2 and number 3 overall picks in successive drafts, you hope for the organization that they're great, because that's the dream, developing starting pitching. So a lot of people will be watching that one tomorrow.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Let's talk people who may have joined a little late off the ledge a little bit here. They're, everybody understandably, oh my God, we can't have a bullpen like we had in 23. Well, actually, we could because that year turned out pretty well. But I agree, nobody wants to see a bullpen that blows more than half of their save opportunities during the regular season, which is what that bullpen did. But again, the reality is, Jeff said it, I said it before he jumped on, the reality is they won't let this linger, right? They're going to keep working on this bullpen. It's a work in progress, and they're going to keep tweaking and keep tinkering. And Bruce Bochy's a bit of a bullpen whisperer, and they're going to figure this thing out before all is said and done.
Yeah, they'll find somebody, and if if they can't find somebody reliable, they'll go get somebody. The trade deadline, I know it's a long way away, but you can go get somebody and make it happen. Why wait till the trade deadline? Maybe you blow somebody's doors off with a trade and they can't say no. There are opportunities to upgrade. Just because the season started doesn't mean you can't go get help. David Robertson, free agent, still available. Maybe he's just biding his time till somebody's bullpen implodes. Um, who knows? But um, yeah, the Rangers won't be content if half their saves are getting blown again. They're gonna be proactive with this thing. But they also like Luke Jackson, great against right-handers. They like the way the breaking ball plays. So they just have to give him another chance, which he's probably going to get. Again, this is one of 162. Did not go well, but they've got 161 more chances to get it right.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And as we mentioned, great game for 8 innings. In fact, it was absolutely flying along there until the later part of the 8th and the 9th inning, and then things slowed down just a little bit. Still, game finished in significantly under 3 hours, and that's always a nice thing on opening day. And then other things we can expect tomorrow, Jeff, include Corey Seager, more than likely, depending, I'm sure, how he wakes up, but more than likely, Corey Seager plays shortstop, and that allows Jock Peterson to get in as designated hitter.
That's the plan, and really, I don't know what they would do. That's an interesting one. If Corey can't play, I would say go with Jock. Don't just give Corey a full day off. If he's sore after DHing, well, go ahead and give him a day. All right, see what happens. But yeah, I mean, Bruce seemed among the things that Boch said, that seemed like he was pretty confident that both will be in the lineup tomorrow night. And yeah, the offense needs to score some runs. That's a great way to help out the pitching staff, score a bunch of runs, and make it hard on the other team to match it.
Yep. And then I guess, and this is the first I'd heard, but I guess then from what you had mentioned earlier, we'll expect Jonah Heim to be in there tomorrow.
Yeah, and yeah, it it it's interesting because Jonah's better against
Yeah.
left-handers.
Yeah.
So I thought that might be what would get him the start today, and not, and save Higashioka for the right-hander tomorrow. But hey, I'm not going to question Bruce Bochy too much.
No.
He's got 4 World Series, and I've watched a couple, but
Yeah.
that's all I got.
Yeah. Enjoyed the heck out of him. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's excellent. Great, quick work by you, Jeff. And we'll look for all your great content there at ALLCITY.com. And we appreciate all of you hanging with us after this one. So we'll be back on Sunday with pre and post game. Normally, our pre and post game shows are on getaway day. Sunday's a getaway day as the Rangers will head to Cincinnati, and I don't really give a damn where the Red Sox are headed, but they're headed someplace. And so we'll see you again for pre and post game on Sunday. We'll see you again tomorrow for a regular edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast at noon. See you then.
We all silly like the mayor.